People sometimes imagine that art of this historical communist society was abstract, suprematism, square geometrical figures, which was not the case. It was the art that started before the October Revolution and served as a symbol of the changes, maybe of the symbol of revolution still now. But the society itself, including the artists, very soon turned to different forms that were to represent the contemporaneity. So first they called themselves futurists, but when the revolution took place and the future became contemporaneity, the future had to be turned into a sort of realism. So that socialist realist painting, sometimes very boring, dull, sometimes gray, unattractive, for some reason was accepted by society and many artists, and not just imposed by Stalin itself, although this process also took place. Why? My answer to this question would include the type of distribution of this painting. When we are looking at the work of contemporary art today, contemporary bourgeois art, because there is nothing else. Contemporary bourgeois artwork implies that it is unique. This uniqueness of an art, of the artist, uniqueness of the viewer, uniqueness of the whole artwork, which also, of course, calls us to acquire it symbolically or physically, financially. This is all inscribed in our assumptions about an artwork. When we are looking at the Soviet artwork, there is no such an implication. The implication is over millions of copies. It's a little bit like we are looking at the book today. We do not suppose that this is a unique book. We know that there are many of them. And this changes our attitude. So that sort of inscription of a big distribution in an artwork. This is something which is interesting to me, how we see it, how we look at it, and how it changes also our way of thinking. Because the uniqueness is being combined with the commons in the economical, in the social sense, but also with the general, the notion of general, that was incredibly important for Soviet philosophy, for Soviet way of thinking. So this general is inscribed into the concrete. So abstractness is somehow inside this figurative painting, although we don't always know how to see it, how to look at it, how to find it, this abstractness, but people back then actually knew how to do it. So this visual spam we're getting all over our life now, this was also something Soviet people were getting through newspapers, magazines, in the streets, an alternative to contemporary advertisement, but somehow similar in the way it worked. So how would we reflect on that sort of shock work of visual images? This mobile image, we are all taking part in its production and distribution today, and maybe we can find something interesting in the Soviet example of it back then.